What's going on, guys? It's Nick here, back with another video. It's Friday, time to go my favorite underdog plays this week. Coming off a strong week, but Mike Vrabel's hatred of Travion Henderson kept us from winning big. I do have both 3 and 4 pick ladders that we'll go over a little bit later, but I also have a 2 combo that's also in the 3 and 4. They don't let you do 2 on Underdog, so we kind of have to do this on our own, but they give you the 30% boost every day. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to do each day one different level on my own of the 2 picks and kind of make my own ladder. So who's in these 2 that I like the most this week? Jalen Waddle and Darnell Mooney. So baseline projection on Underdog for Waddle is 60.5. Receiving yards, we'll take higher on that. And then for Mooney, it's only 38.5. I don't necessarily think that this game shoots out through the air or anything, but both of these passing attacks are just so consolidated that unless both ground games drop a nuke or unless this game completely underwhelms, you have to think these 2 are going to get pretty decent volume. Over the last 2 seasons, when both London and Mooney have played a full game, both of them average 57 receiving yards per game. We all view London as the very clear alpha on this team. And to a large degree, I think that is true. But London has really only gone off when Mooney either misses the game or leaves early due to injury. When Mooney plays and he plays a full game, he's basically just as productive as Drake London. This game's also at home. Penix is probably not that good. He's probably not that good of a quarterback, but at least he plays a million times better at home. We also know that Mooney is a highly explosive player, capable of hitting deep downfield. That's what we want from our ladder. We don't want it to where he has to get 7, 8, 9 receptions. Now we really need the volume, so he's playing out there. He can go higher on, really on one play, but it can only take 2 plays here for him to go higher than 38.5. And as we build up the ladder, it doesn't take that many. Last week he hit for 3 for 68, 4 receptions. You can get to 100 yards here. So good spot for him. We like that he's playing at home, and I think he's just a little bit better than people give him credit for. Then for Waddle, he had 110 and 95 receiving yards in the 2 games after they lost Tyreek Hill. That makes sense. We talked all offseason. We talked for years about how he's a great pick in general, but that upside comes if they were to trade away Tyreek Hill or if he were to get injured. Well, that's happened. And I feel like it started, first 2 weeks without him, 110, 95, starts to get going. But then last week has the dud game, kind of to be expected, though. He's playing a very good defense in the Browns, but also a wind game, a rain game. That is just not what the Dolphins excel at. The Miami Dolphins need it to be sunny. They need no wind. They need a dome. They are a very, very much so Miami team. Tua just turns into a pumpkin anytime there's wind, anytime there's rain or snow. So that was not the spot where Miami was going to play well. But in a dome, they should look a lot better this week. Also, the Falcons do have a strong defense, but look at the Miami offense. Achane, Waddle, great, right? Malik Washington, good if you need 3 or 4 yards, not good if you need anything more than that. Nick Westbrook-Ikine, no. Julian Hill, Tanner Connor, those are the top 6 pass catchers on this team. And so every single play, you got to think, Mike McDaniel's job is going to be on the line every single week at this point, and I just don't see him with his job on the line featuring plays to Julian Hill and Nick Westbrook-Ikine and Tanner Connor. It's just not going to happen. Every single play we designed to Achane, Waddle, and Washington. And the problem with 2 of those 3 players is they're going to catch the ball within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage every time. So last week, they tried to get it done that way because they're like, well, if we throw the ball any further than 5 yards downfield, it's going to get intercepted. At least this week, they can trust him a little bit more. No wind in the dome, the weather conditions we find where they actually can push the ball deeper downfield. But if they're going to move the ball, they cannot take these 3 to 5 yard dump offs every play to Achane and Washington. And the only other player they trust in this offense is Jalen Waddle. So I've taken so far the level 3 of the ladder, which is going to be Mooney and Waddle both hitting 100 receiving yards. You put your 30% boost on that, you're up to 60.74x. That turns $10 into $607 this weekend. Again, each day I'm going to like work down from that. So we're going to go down for each of them, and I'll probably finish either at what their projection is, which again, 60.5 for Waddle, 38.5 for Mooney, higher of course on both those, and then maybe I'll go down to like doing a little bit below them, but making my own ladder because again, Underdog doesn't allow you to only do 2. Solo picks now. And again, we're going to go over who I could add on to a third, who I could add on to a fourth. I have actually done the 4-1. But some solo picks. Isiah Pacheco this week again. I like him higher than 50.5 rushing yards. He hit for us last week. Let's go back to him this week. Because also, I don't think that Kareem Hunt is going to play on Monday night. And so it should just be Pacheco and Brashard Smith getting rush attempts. I know Brashard Smith got run last week. That was because that game was a blowout by like the end of the first quarter. The starters did not play in the entire fourth quarter. It was basically a blowout at halftime. And so you had Brashard Smith, 1 carry, I think 1 yard in the first half, then 13 carries in the second half when the game was completely over. Had that game not been a complete blowout, you'd have gotten even more run from Isiah Pacheco. So Pacheco in line for a much larger role this week. They're 12.5, 13-point home favorites. It's a top 10 rushing matchup against the Commanders. It's just a really good spot for Pacheco this weekend. I also like Jonathan Taylor higher than 102.5 rushing yards. I know that's a crazy high total, but I'm projecting right now 123 rushing yards. And honestly, the only way he doesn't get to 100 yards this weekend is if they get up by 3 or 4 scores in the fourth quarter, and like one of them was a pick six and one of them was like Alec Pierce sitting for a long touchdown. They're not going to go with a passing attack. They are going to run the ball a ton. I do think that they'll mix in Abdullah. They'll mix in DJ Giddens. So I think like if you were super desperate in like a 16-team league and you had to play one of those two at running back 2, not projecting an amazing workload, but I do think we could get another situation where the fourth quarter happens and those two get run. But leading up to that point, if this team is going to get up by 20, 27 points, and they're just going to completely rest Jonathan Taylor in the second half, to get to that point, I still think it's going to be because they had a ton of yardage, plenty of touchdowns. I don't think the Titans are going to score that many points. So that's the one risk here. But they're going to have to score at least 27 to 30 points before they take their foot off the gas. And to get to that point, I just think it's going to come from a really good day from JT. I think he's going to be around that like 125 mark. And so again, higher than 102.5 rushing yards for JT. I also like lower on Quinshon Judkins, 65.5 rushing yards. I mentioned this stat in the rankings video, but the longest streak New England has ever had to open a season without allowing a 50-yard rusher has been 4 games. This season, they've not allowed a 50-yard rusher through 7 games. It has been a really, really difficult matchup for opposing running backs, and it hasn't been against like the worst running backs in the NFL. They held James Cook to 49 rushing yards, Genty to 38, Etienne to 33, Kamara to 31, Achane to 30. The Titans running backs combined for 40. We also have to contend with game script here. So it would be fine if Judkins in all game scripts got the carries. But we saw 2 weeks ago, when Cleveland gets down, they're going to use Dylan Sampson, they're going to use Jerome Ford. And if those two come onto the field, if they're passing at a higher rate because they are 7-point road underdogs, it is likely they lose this game. It is likely they're trailing for most of it. If that occurs and Judkins hasn't gotten there yet and they're using a bunch of Ford and Sampson and they're throwing the ball most plays, then it's far more likely that Judkins finishes lower than 65.5 than it is he finishes higher. I also like Matthew Golden higher than 42.5 receiving yards. It doesn't seem like Wicks is going to play this week. And even if Christian Watson returns, which I don't think is a lock either, but even if he does return, there's no way that he has a high-end snap share in his first game back. They will mix him in for some downfield looks. They will rotate him into the rotation, but like he is not going to be out there for like 80% of the snaps. Also, the Steelers are a very positive matchup for wide receivers, and while Golden hasn't had his breakout game yet, the snaps have been trending up, and this will be his best opportunity of the season. He does also have at least 52 receiving yards in 3 of the last 4 weeks, and he's been incredibly efficient on his targets. All he really needs is for the target share to increase just a little bit, and he's going to crush it. And again, with Wicks likely out, with Watson likely limited if he even plays, this is the week that could happen. It's also not like you need him to crush it, right? Like his baseline underdog projection is only 42.5 receiving yards. He can get there on 3 or 4 receptions. So even if the role doesn't increase as a baseline, he should go higher than this. He's another player we're going to talk about adding to the 4-pick ladder in a second. But the 4th pick of that ladder, and then I'll show you guys on screen, I'll probably put it up right now, what it looks like. I would not put a lot on this, but if you wanted to start off with Mooney and Waddle, you wanted to add in Matthew Golden, and then you also wanted to add in Rashid Shaheed. I like his higher as well. I really think this Bucks at Saints game is going to feature a ton of plays. Baseline, Saints have a ton of plays. They play fast, they throw the ball at a high rate. Bucks, also, not a team that really goes run heavy, especially without Bucky Irving for another week. They're not going to give Rachaad White 30 rush attempts, right? So they're going to throw the ball at a high rate. Saints can throw the ball at a high rate. It's a dome game. We know that the Bucks make teams lean more pass heavy than normal, so they're the biggest pass funnel in the NFL. They have a phenomenal run defense. Not a terrible pass defense, but when you're like the best run defense or inarguably a top 3 run defense in the NFL and you're more shaky against the pass, teams are just going to throw the ball at a high rate. So when you add in a fast pace, a ton of pass attempts in a dome, this is just the type of spot where it's not a guarantee that Shaheed is going to hit, but it's the type of spot where he's going to have a lot more opportunities to do so. And so I really like his ceiling in this spot. You can also add in Kendre Miller. I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but when you lose Kendre Miller as the Saints offense, he was doing really good, like not from like a fantasy perspective, but on like a per play basis, he was playing really well this season. Remove him, and they just don't have someone that they're like trusting for early downs. They don't trust Evan Neal yet. They're not going to give Taysom Hill 10, 12 carries. They're not going to really feature Kamara on the ground. It's going to be through the air. So they're going to throw the ball a lot this weekend. And the baseline projection for Rashid Shaheed on Underdog is 45.5 receiving yards. You only need 30 receiving yards for him to hit level 1 on the ladder. And so I like adding him as well. Again, it's 500x. So if all 4 of Waddle, Mooney, Shaheed, and Golden, they all hit level 3, very unlikely to happen. But if they all do it, it's 500x whatever you put in. So please do not put a lot on this one. But it's also nice knowing that when we do these ladders, you don't need the top of the ladder to hit, right? It's great having that upside, but you don't need the top end of it to hit. We're still going to get 2x, even if all of them hit level 1, which is only 45 receiving yards from Waddle, 25 from Mooney, 30 from Shaheed, 30 from Golden. If we get all of that, we're still going to double whatever we put in. But again, if we get to, you'll see it on the screen, it's roughly 100 yards from all of them. Super unlikely. But if it happens, it's 500x, whatever you put in. So good luck to everyone this weekend. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you are new here, subscribe on Spotify if you're new there as well. And if you haven't signed up yet for Underdog, do so this weekend. Promo code FFA. If you place $5 on a pick, they'll give you $100 in bonus cash. And then I'll also give you access to my weekly rankings, detailed projections, all that stuff for the rest of the season for free. Pretty darn good deal if you're going to sign up anyways. So I'll be back on Monday to go over my week 9 waiver wire picks. That, my friends, is in this one. And thank you all for watching.